Okay, I now recognize Ms. Holland to make a motion under Article 14. The motion is on the screen, and she will be reading the text that's on the screen.
This motion is slightly different from the one that was mailed out to you with your packet. That's why
Why don't
I'm
you,
reading
I'm sorry, read the motion first, then talk about it, okay? Thanks.
I move that the town appropriate the sum of $50,000 in the undesignated fund balance from, sorry, I got that wrong. I'm going to start over if you don't mind. I move that the town appropriate the sum of $50,000 from free cash in the undesignated fund balance to fund the design by an architect of a plan in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 7, C, to include, but not be limited to, making the following significant improvements to the North Amherst Library within the following constraints. A, make all 3 floors of the building fully accessible by elevator with as little impact on the building's historic...
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you. I hear a point of order. Please rise and wait for a microphone.
Amy Middleman, Precinct 5. The clock isn't changing.
No, that's because she's making a motion. She's not speaking to the motion yet. I'm sorry, Ms. Holland, you may continue.
A, make all 3 floors of the building fully accessible by elevator with as little impact on the building's historic components as possible, while minimizing damage to the 2 large maples at the rear of the building and maintaining the building's character and its architectural and aesthetic unity. B, provide fully accessible bathroom and water fountain for use by the public and library staff. C, develop and install a more climate, energy, and space-conscious method of heating and cooling of the building. D, at least double the North Amherst Library space available to the public in the existing building. E, add a sidewalk at the south edge of the paved area at the rear of the library building that would connect to a new accessible ground floor entry at the rear of the North Amherst Library building. F, finish and furnish the unfinished attic space for use for public meetings, for ESL conversation circles, for public readings, including readings for children, etc. G, do not assume any change in the present layout of Sunderland Road. And additionally, authorize the application for an acceptance of any gifts, bequests, or grants for these purposes.
I hear a second. You now have 5 minutes to speak to your motion.
As the motion says, Article 14 is asking for $50,000 from the town for an architect's design for improvements to the North Amherst Library. This article is brought by the Friends of the North Amherst Library. The problem with this library is that the 7 steps up to its only door are not accessible by wheelchair. These stairs also make it difficult for those using walkers or canes or lifting strollers. The staff there are very kind about carrying out books to people who can't get up the stairs, but those people wanting to browse the collection can't do it. This library has been owned by the town since it was built in 1893, not by the Jones Library, which did not exist at that time. Here's a picture of the deed. I thank Bonnie McCracken for locating this deed. I'll just show you this first page, and I don't expect that you can read it that well, but let me know if you want to read more. Just a little bit of history. I love history. The North Amherst Library Association decided to build this library after the nearby school got so crowded that the library had to leave. The cost of construction was $2,500. The 1893 town meeting voted to give $500 toward the cost. The rest of the money came from North Amherst residents, some of whom were wealthy farmers, lumbermen, and mill owners. The architect was paid $25. Today, the Jones Library staffs and manages the North Amherst Library and has in the past used donated and appropriated funds to make improvements to the building. But it is the town that is responsible for making this library accessible. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 also requires a wheelchair-accessible bathroom and water fountain. Right now, the bathroom in the library is down the steep, narrow basement stairway and is not open to the users of the library. This summer, a local retired school teacher, Terry Johnson, donated a rented porta potty to the library for 3 months to help with the children's summer reading program. Obviously, having a bathroom would have been better. As it is now, people, including children, have to cross busy Montague Road to use the bathrooms at the local stores over there. The only way to have access for the disabled will be by an elevator. The building has 3 floors, and a wheelchair-accessible elevator on the back of the building would provide access to all 3 floors. The basement is of full height with windows and houses books along with a huge oil tank. Article 14 asks for a more energy-conscious method of heating and cooling the building. Eliminating that huge oil tank will free up a lot of space. The attic has a pitched ceiling with full height in the center of the room and would be a good spot for community meetings. Could we return to the previous slide, please? The $50,000 would come from free cash, which currently has $3.8 million in it. Once the architect's design is done, the work can be funded in part through the local Community Preservation Act budget, which supports making historic buildings accessible. And I'm sure that North Amherst residents will come through with financial support as they did for the original building. I'll stay here to answer questions.
Thank you.